Neil from Modo here, and welcome to the latest instalment of the Energy Academy. In this two-parter, we'll be explaining how electricity market economics work, at least in a general sense. You've probably heard of the laws of supply and demand. This ties into all corners of economics and underpins how markets function around the world, and energy markets are no different. Today, we're going to be taking on the generation stack. Understanding the concept of the generation stack opens up a whole new way of thinking about electricity markets. It can help us visualize how we balance supply and demand. It lets us weigh up the benefits and drawbacks of different technologies, and, perhaps most importantly, explains how demand impacts electricity prices. So let's get into it. As with most things, the best way to explain the generation stack is with an example. Let's create our own mini energy system and construct the supply and demand curves that govern the wholesale market. In our system, we have a small selection of generation units: 20 megawatts of wind, 50 megawatts of nuclear, 25 megawatts of gas turbines, and 5 megawatts of peaking plants. Each of these different technologies has a different cost associated with producing 1 megawatt hour of electricity, which reflects the cost of fuel, carbon, ramping, efficiency, and more. You'll often hear this idea referred to as the short-run marginal cost of operation. Since renewables don't require any fuel and don't produce any carbon, generation from wind and solar tends to be the cheapest. On the other hand, peaking plants, which produces energy at lower efficiencies and pays for both fuel and carbon, tends to be more expensive. So now we have our supply mix and the associated costs of production, we can finally build our generation stack. We'll set up our graphic with a price and quantity axis. Quantity will go on the x-axis and is measured in megawatt hours. Price, measured in pounds per megawatt hour, is on the y-axis. Now let's add in our generation, starting with the cheapest. First, our wind, 20 megawatt hours with a short-run marginal cost of £1 per megawatt hour. Next, nuclear, then gas, finally peaking plant. And there we go, we've got our supply stack. In part 2, we'll dive into how to use and interpret the supply stack in more detail. See you there.